Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to add a Visual Basic program to Excel, and then I'm going to demonstrate how to use that Visual Basic function that we created to calculate the payback for a capital budgeting project. So this first part is just generic. It does not, you can use this for any Visual Basic program that you create. So the program I'm looking at is this one here. I've got it in a text file. If you've got it in a Word document, it works fine too. But it's a payback function. It calculates the payback for a capital budgeting project. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add it to this workbook that I've got open. Then I'm going to use it to calculate the payback period for a project. So in order to do that, the first thing I need to do is add the developer tab up here in the ribbon. And so I'm going to do that by first going to File, and then going down to More, and then to Options. So File, More, Options. We want to customize the ribbon. So over here, I selected Customize the ribbon, and then I'm going to go over here to Developer. I'm going to select that. Now, if you've got Developer in your ribbon, you don't need to do this. But if you don't, and most people, if you're not using Visual Basic, you probably won't have that up there in your ribbon. So you need to start off by adding that. The next thing we're going to do is select Developer, and then go to Visual Basic. So I wanted to make this very clean, so I closed all my other workbooks. If you have other workbooks open, you'll need to search for the workbook you want to insert it in over here in the left-hand side column. So I've got my workbook here. It's Sheet 1, Book 2. You can see it says Book 2 up here, Book 2 down here. I want to select my header there, and then I want to go to Insert and select Module. So down here it says Modules and then Module 1. This is where I'm going to put my Visual Basic program. If I put it anywhere else, the worksheet won't be able to access it. So now I'm going to go out to that text file that I showed you. I'm going to highlight it all. And now I'm just going to paste it into that module that I opened up there. So I paste it in there. The name of it's Payback. I'm going to save it now. So it pulled up Save As. I need to save this as a macro-enabled workbook. If I don't save it as a macro-enabled workbook, then it just the function won't work. So it says Excel workbook down here. I need to change that file type to an Excel macro-enabled workbook. And I'm going to rename this Payback. I'm going to just save it to my desktop here so I know where it's at. So again, we want to save the type as a macro-enabled workbook. And then it allows me to do that. It's saved up here as payback.xlsm. So that M means that it's a macro-enabled workbook. Now I can close this out just like that. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the cash flows for a project. Just like that. We have a negative cash flow at time 0. And then negative $150,000 at time 0, $40,000 at time 1, $45,000 at time 2, $50,000 at time 3, and then $55,000 at time 4. I'm going to use that payback function now to calculate how long it takes to pay back my project. So I'm going to call it my payback period here. I'm going to put in equals payback, open parentheses. So if you want to, you can just highlight the cash flows here, close parentheses, and it should calculate it for you. If you want to see what's going on with this function, go up to the Insert Function button up here. And it just says cash flows because that's the only input for this function. It's just the set of cash flows that we have here. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to highlight, so I have equals payback, open parentheses. Highlight all my cash flows there, close parentheses. And it's going to tell me it's 3.27 years. Okay? I can double check this. by just calculating it manually. So I'm going to take my $40,000, I'm going to add that back to my original investment of $150,000. I'm going to take the $45,000 at year 2, I'm going to add that back to my $110,000. I'm going to take my cash flows at time 3, $50,000, I'm going to add that back. At the end of time 3, I have $15,000 left to pay back. The next year, I'm going to have cash flows, or I expect to have cash flows of $55,000. So I know that my project will pay back sometime in year 4. We make the assumption with payback that cash flows occur evenly throughout the year unless we know otherwise, and we can model that. So to calculate this, I'm just going to divide the remaining amount to pay back by the cash flows in year 4. And it's 0.27. It's negative here because we have a negative 15,000 there, but it's 0.272727 years, or about a quarter of a year. So our payback period is 1 year, 2 years, and then 3 years, plus 0.27 years, or 3.2727 years. So our function worked correctly here. So that's how you add a function to Excel through Visual Basic. And in this case, I used a function created to calculate the payback period, and it did so in this case. Please let me know if you have any questions.